What's going on, everyone? Ronan here, and welcome back to the channel. We got a lot of things to cover today, as this is the first part of the finale series for What If Indigo Champion Ash challenged the Johto League. But before we get into that, I got a couple of things that I got to take care of first. First, we're going to shout out the patron like we have been. So, Julian Rodriguez, thank you very much for the support. And also, I need you guys to take a look at this analytical stat bar right here. You already know the drill. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications, and don't forget to drop a like to help fuel the algorithm. But with all of that stuff out of the way, let's get into What If Indigo Champion Ash challenged the Johto League, the series finale, part 1. I hope you enjoy. This is it. The time that we've all been waiting for. It has been a long road for this scenario of What If Indigo Champion Ash challenged the Johto League. But finally, we have made it to the final destination. The thing that Ash and all of his traveling companions have strived for. The Silver Conference. So, I hope you enjoy this final leg of the Johto journeys, as Ash hopes to complete his master quest. Because this is where we find him on the morning of the opening ceremony. It's been 2 months since Vincent and Ash left Blackthorn City, and the two have done nothing but training non-stop since then. But now the day they have waited for is finally here. The opening ceremonies for the Johto's Silver Conference. Tension and excitement is high running through the air, as the Pokemon Center outside of Silver Stadium is buzzing with many trainers that have fought their way through the Johto region over the last year. These feelings are no different for both Ash and Vincent, as they cannot wait to finally get the tournament started and show the world what they can truly do. However, before this is going to happen, there's going to be some catching up with old friends, as Team Gary has finally made themselves known, with both Ethan, Marina, and Gary all making their way to the eating part of the Pokemon Center where Ash and Vincent currently are. What we see here is some friendly back and forth banter between the group as they are catching up since they last saw each other in Mahogany Town. Ethan and Vincent especially won't let things rest, as these two have a score to settle. They haven't actually battled since the first day when they got their starter Pokemon, so they intend to face each other in the tournament at some point, as they both declare they will be the respective winners of their match. While Marina just rolls her eyes as she tends to all of the stuff that she's gathered over the last year, categorizing all of the things that she's seen and documented, trying to keep them as neat as possible for when she gets the chance to throw it in the face of Professor L, so she can say, "I told you so." However, this doesn't last too long, as the teams all have their own things that they have to do today, so they eventually split up after the meals are done. But this is going to cause Ash to cross paths with a very old rival outside of the Pokemon Center, as this person is getting ready for the competition. Once he comes into view, the only thing Ash can say is Richie, as the two Pikachu greet each other as longtime friends and old rivals. Ash says he didn't know that Richie was competing in the Johto League, to which the young auburn-haired boy responds that he didn't think that he would travel out to Johto either. But when he got out here and he saw how strong the trainers are, and the fact that he lost to Ash the year before, he wanted to take another crack at things. He knew that Ash was in the Johto region as well, challenging the gyms due to his fame and notoriety becoming the buzz throughout the gym circuit, so he figured they would eventually run into each other. Both Ash and Richie spend some brief time catching up before the two go their separate ways, promising that if they battle in the tournament, there will be nothing held back. As the three boys part way, Vincent asks about Richie, to which Ash responds explaining the whole story about when they battled at the Indigo Plateau. Richie nearly beat him, but Ash was able to win it out in the end with Charizard. As the two are talking about this, they walk by a boy with a Pokemon that Ash has never seen standing outside of its Pokeball. The two are standing together as the boy looks into Ash's eyes, but nothing is said, as our two heroes continue walking and finishing their conversation. Then, about an hour later, our heroes and everyone that they've met over the past year in Johto that's competed in the league find themselves standing in the center of the Silver Stadium that is packed with a massive crowd. However, this isn't what has Ash's attention. It's the stage that is in front of them, as there is a man that is very old addressing both the combatants and the crowd. This is Mr. Goodshow, the Pokemon League president, who Ash knows all too well. However, Mr. Goodshow is not what has Ash's attention. It's the people that stand behind him. 3 of them he knows all too well. And this is where Mr. Goodshow introduces them as the Elite Four of the Johto region, who consist of Will, the Psychic type trainer, Koga, the Poison type trainer, Bruno, the Fighting type trainer, Karen, the Master of multiple different types, and their leader and champion of the Johto region himself, Lance, the Dragon Master. Mr. Goodshow goes to ramble on as Vincent nudges Ash, asking him what he means by Lance is the champion of the Johto region, to which Ash responds this must be what Lance meant when they said they would have a clash of champions. This has the boy thinking deeply about current events and what this means for his future as the champion of the the Kanto region. However, this is going to have to be addressed at a later date, as the rules are being set for the first couple of rounds of the Silver Conference. It's here that all the combatants learn that they're going to be split up into groups of 3, and they're all going to have to battle each other. The one in the groups that has the most points will move on to the top 16. Each of the battles will be 3-on-3s, and depending on how you do in the battle, you will get a certain. It's a very simple yet effective system, and the combatants will all find out what groups they are in by tonight at the Pokemon Center. It is here that Mr. Goodshow ends his address by thanking everybody for coming out, and he hopes that they all enjoy the festivities. Everyone celebrates in a loud roar, except for Ash, as he and Lance share a brief glance at each other from the stage into the crowd. It is here that we fade to the night of the ceremony, with Ash and Vincent at the Pokemon Center. The 3 are awaiting eagerly to see what groups they are going to be paired in. Ash doesn't care who he gets paired with. However, there are 2 that he's hoping that is not in his same group, as he wants a chance to battle them in a full 6-on-6, both Richie and Gary. None of the combatants can take it. They've been forced to wait all day, and now it is just after sunset and they still don't have any results. How are they supposed to figure out who they're going to face the next day? How can they plan for their strategies? It's driving Ash, Gary, and everybody else in attendance crazy waiting for this. Then, just when it seems to be unbearable, a ping rings out through the PA system as the notification goes out that the pairings have been posted. Like a crazed gambleaholic that has just hit the jackpot at the Goldenrod game corner, everybody rushes their monitors of the center looking for where they're placed. Ash and Vincent both look around. However, they're not seeing each other, but they are seeing everybody else. They're not in Gary's group, Ethan's group, Harrison's group, or Richie's group. However, Ash and Vincent aren't in the same group either, as Vincent finally finds his, to which Ash is impaired. Although while scanning through the groups, Ash does notice a familiar face. Shingo, the trainer that he beat with Gliscor back when he first came to Johto. If he's here, that means that everyone who is anyone in the Johto region has showed up for this tournament, which means that he is going to have a great competition. This is where Ash is finally able to find his group, and it just so happens that he's paired with 3 people that he's never met before. And it looks like he's going to be up first tomorrow morning with the first match facing a girl called Macy. And it's not only Ash and Vincent that are seeing all these results, it's also Gary, Ethan, the boy Harrison, Richie, and Shingo are all standing in the Pokemon Center at different places, just out of sight of everyone else, but able to see the screens nonetheless. Now that they all have their pairings, Ash tells Vincent he wants to show him something that Brock once used at the other Pokemon League back in Kanto. So the 2 head off to the private computers of their room. That way they can plan their strategy for the next morning. Team Gary does the same, as Gary has a lot of insight and he has to make sure that all of his Pokemon are the correct ones going into this 3v3, so that way he doesn't get knocked out of the tournament early. While Ethan is secretly relieved that he didn't get put into Gary's group, that way he doesn't have to face him just yet. With all the plans set, we fade to the next morning in the first round of the Silver Conference, as Ash and his opponent Macy have taken the field. Ash is feeling pretty confident in his team, while on the other hand, Macy is gushing over the fact that the Indigo champion is standing directly across from her, and she can't wait for the opportunity to beat him in battle. However, Ash tells her that if she plans to do that, then it's going to be easier said than done. So she better make sure that she's in tip-top form, as when reviewing her profile, he noticed something very specific about it. So he planned his team accordingly, and with the wave of the flag, the first round is set to begin, as Macy decides to start off strong with the Pokemon that Ash has never seen before, as she sends in her Numel. Once Ash uses his Pokedex to get an idea of what this Pokemon can do, and he realizes that it's half ground type, he's feeling pretty confident in his team selection. So without hesitation, he declares his first candidate, Kingler, I choose you. The King Crab hits the field to start the battle, as Ash hopes to have the same luck that he had back in the Indigo League when Kingler was able to evolve from Krabby and sweep an entire first round. The first commands are given from both trainers, as Ash calls for a Sword Stance from his Crab, while Macy follows suit with a Harden. It seems both trainers are playing to the strengths of their Pokemon. However, Ash doesn't stay stagnant, as Macy calls for an Amnesia to increase the special attack of her Fire type. Ash orders Kingler on to attack with a Crab Hammer. While Macy is a powerful trainer in her own right, there is a reason why Ash is the champion of the Kanto region, and is revealed here when his Kingler is proven to be faster than the normal members of its species, and it's able to close the gap between Numel and itself very quickly, smacking the Fire Camel with the Crab Hammer and sending it into the wall to where it lies in a crater with spirals in its eyes. While Macy is a bit saddened that her Numel didn't get a chance to show off its true power, she understands that that was the risk setting in a Pokemon of its caliber versus a championship level opponent. So she recalls Numel so that way she can send in the Pokemon that she has just for this type of situation. Electabuzz! The Electric Oni hits the field ready to revenge kill Kingler, as the wave of the flag is given for the second bout. Now, while Ash knows this is a bad matchup, he doesn't want to forfeit the stat increase that he got from the Swords Dance, so he decides to keep Kingler in, as he orders the Crab in with a Vice Grip. However, Macy is able to easily counter this with a Thunder Punch from her Oni, which ends this next exchange in her favor instead of Ash's, as the Thunder Punch was strong enough that Kingler took on a paralysis from the contact. Now that Kingler's speed has been cut in half, she orders Electabuzz to finish things off with a Thunderbolt. Ash counters in an attempt to save Kingler, telling it to launch its giant crab into the ground with a crab hammer in an attempt to divert the electricity. However, it's moving too slow and it's unable to complete the attack in time, allowing the Thunderbolt to connect, dropping it in one final attack. Man, I was hoping Kingler would be able to do the same thing again, Ash says to himself. However, he recalls the crab thanking it for all the effort that it put in. Macy's feeling on top of the world with herself at this current time, as her Electabuzz is the perfect counter to any water, and she assumes that Ash, being a champion, would want to give himself as many advantages as possible, so he chose all water types to counter her mostly fire type team. However, little does she know, she next leveled herself, as Ash saw this coming from a mile away once he noticed that Electabuzz was on her roster. So he packed a safety precaution just in case, declaring, "Gliscor, I choose you!" The Fang Scorpion hits the field, landing on its tail, ready to spring into action. With the wave of this next battle starting, Ash immediately begins his plan of counterattack, calling for a sandstorm that envelops the entire battlefield, making Electabuzz unable to complete any type of attacks towards it, as it had missed an Iron Tail that Macy had commanded. And just as the Oni was bringing the tail down, Ash is able to capitalize on this, ordering a guillotine from Gliscor, to which the Fang Scorpion leaps from within the sand veil, grabbing the Oni around the neck with its pincers, driving it into the battlefield to end this battle once and for all. The force of the impact was so great from Electivire being driven into the battlefield that it dissipated the sandstorm with the same move. This was enough to catch everyone's attention, as they realized that Ash isn't messing around. He's even got this girl Macy shaking, as she's unconfident in her next choice. However, if she wants to make it to the next round, she's gonna have to beat Ash. So she digs in, as she sends in her starter Pokemon, the fire type Quilava. While Gliscor would be a great counter to Quilava as it's a ground type, he doesn't want it to battle this one, so Ash recalls it, deciding to send in his water type of the Johto region. Artillery, I choose you! The octopi hits the field with its tentacles firmly sticking, cementing itself in place, ready for its battle with his fire type. With the wave of the flag to start the next round, Macy holds nothing back, ordering a flamethrower from her fire type, to which Octillery quickly counters with an Octazooka, putting out the fire, showing that Quilava is severely out of its element. Not liking what's happening here, she then decides to choose a more direct approach, telling Quilava to use a Flame Wheel. Using its superior speed, Quilava bolts down the battlefield, crashing into Octillery with its fire-type tackle. However, no matter how much power the mid-stage evolution had, there's one thing that both it and its trainer overlooked, as when Octillery hit the field, it literally dug in with its suction cups, making sure that it wouldn't be able to move. This makes it so its elastic body is able to move with the tackle, minimizing the damage, giving the octopi an opening, to which Ash uses to his full advantage as he calls for a water pulse. This move is 100% unguarded, as Quilava takes it full force, knocking it back into the wall of the stadium. However, as Quilava is being sent back, this is when Ash orders Octillery on the attack again, to which the octopus finally decides to move, chasing after its prey. Just as Quilava hits the wall, an Octazooka drenches it, dropping Quilava and bringing this battle to an end, as it lay there with spirals in its eyes. The crowd erupts at Ash's quick victory over this newbie trainer, and as cheers ring throughout the stadium, Ash has set the tone for the rest of this tournament that all of his friends and rivals must be aware of. He's here to win, and he will only be bringing his best to each battle, so they had better do the same. The rest of the day goes off without a hitch, with everyone making it through their first rounds with either a win or a draw. Over the next 2 days, all of the final battles are had with the combatants in the groups, until it is exponentially clear who will be attending the top 16. While Ash, the odds-on favorite, was basically a guarantee to make it to the next round, there are some other fan favorites that have begun to pop up. Gary, the Oak Boy from Pallet Town, and his protege, Ethan, along with Ash's traveling companion, Vincent, have all made the cut. And let's not forget Shingo, the boy wonder with the scissor. And of course, Ash's old Indigo League rival, Richie, has also made the cut. And let's not forget that boy with the strange fire type that looked like a chicken, Harrison. And of course, a girl named Casey are all the standout stars of the top 16. However, there is one thing here that's going to draw the attention of both Team Gary and Team Ash, as the matches are paired and it's revealed that Vincent will be battling Ethan. With the pairings now announced, everybody begins to break off as they can finally get some sleep. This is where we find Ash and Vincent in their room. While Ash has no qualms about who he's facing in the next round, as it's somebody he's quite excited to rematch against, Vincent, on the other hand, doesn't know how he feels about the match that he's been given. Sure, him and Ethan are childhood friends, and he's wanted to battle them ever since they left New Bark Town, but something about this doesn't feel right to him. Battling a friend on a stage like this just seems wrong to Vincent, to which he confides in Ash about. However, the young champion has has some words of wisdom for Vincent, as he goes on to tell him the story about Richie and how they met. Ash was so excited to meet somebody just like him. The similarities that they shared was uncanny, but then Ash got the announcement to face his new friend in the battle, and at first he was hesitant to do it as well. But ultimately, he ended up realizing that if he didn't battle him with everything that he had, then it would be a sign of disrespect towards the relationship that him and Richie had built over the time that they had been together. So if Vincent doesn't go after this with everything he has, then he's going to be letting Ethan down. Vincent thinks about these words of advice as we fade over to Team Gary, or more specifically, Gary and Ethan. They're outside the Pokemon Center, staring at the stars in the night sky. "Have you decided your team for tomorrow?" Gary asks Ethan, to which the young boy says that he's already had an idea of who he wants to use to face Vincent ever since they first got here. Gary smiles, telling Ethan that when he first got to Johto, he didn't intend to travel with anybody, but having the ability to watch both him and Marina grow over the last year has been something that he's truly never going to forget. And he's glad that he actually took Ethan up on his offer when he asked him to join their team. "Truth be told, I didn't think he would take it up, Gary, but I'm glad you did as well, because we were able to share some spectacular adventures together." Both of them share a brief laugh before Gary changes the subject, telling Ethan he wants to thank him for helping him grow as a trainer and all of the experiences they've shared together. Gary then reaches into his bag and pulls out an odd-shaped rock. "It's up to you if you want to use it, Ethan, but it's my gift to you for all the experiences we've had and the memories we shared. Think of it as a thank you." Ethan takes the rock, unsure about what to say to Gary, as we fade through the rest of the night and into the next day, as we find ourselves in the middle of the first top 16 match with Vincent and Ethan staring each other down. Both trainers have been fighting hard, doing their best to try and take out the opposing team, and to this point it looks like things are dead even between the two, as Vincent was just able to successfully knock out Ethan's third Pokemon. This had triggered a field change from them battling on the rocky terrain of the Earth battlefield over to a more grassy terrain, with both trainers only having 3 Pokemon left, and Vincent's Hitmontop having taken little to no damage from the previous encounter. Ethan has to be careful about his next selection. Luckily for him though, he has just the thing he needs to take on the fighting type, as Noctowl pops from its ball with a little bit of luster from its feathers due to the different coloring from the rest of its species. And with that, the call for the second half of this match has begun, as Vincent wastes no time ordering Hitmontop in with a rapid spin. However, Ethan has a counter for this, ordering Noctowl to put up a reflect so that way he can minimize any physical attacks from the fighting type. This makes things a bit difficult for the spinning top. However, Vincent is going to let this keep him from victory, as he continues the assault with a rolling kick. However, now that the defenses are up, Ethan can go on the offensive, ordering a wing attack to counter it. However, unfortunately for the flyer, it's not as strong as Hitmontop in the physical department, and the wing attack isn't able to hold back the rolling kick, as it's pelted 3 times with each of Hitmontop's feet and then its tail. While the reflect is in play and Noctowl does resist the fighting type move, it still does cause some damage, causing it to stack up over time. This is what Ethan was trying to avoid, so he has to make a big play here. That's when he decides to pull out a trick from when he was battling in the Aquatique Gym. As Hitmontop is back on the attack with another rapid spin, Ethan orders Noctowl to flood the area with confusion. The burst of Psychic type energy is enough to catch the fighting type off guard, slamming it back into the battlefield. As Hitmontop stands a bit dazed from the altercation, this is where it's met with the wing attack from Noctowl, knocking it out and putting things in Ethan's favor. Vincent recalls the fighting type, thanking for all the effort that it put in. However, he's not going to let this go unpunished, as he decides to send in his Kangaskhan. As the girth of the normal type slams into the battlefield with this baby in its pouch, Ethan decides to play things smart, as he knows the reflect is still in play, so he recalls Noctowl for the time being, choosing to send in his newest evolution, Victory Bell. As this battle begins, Vincent decides that he wants to go big, telling Kangaskhan to use a flamethrower. However, Ethan is going to do his best to guard against this, as he orders Victory Bell to use a Vine Whip to close the mouth of Kangaskhan. By doing so, this prevents the fire type attack from actually even launching, saving the grass type from what could have been a sure knockout. However, this isn't going to come without consequence, as Vincent tells Kangaskhan to lean back and pull Victory Bell towards it, then, with all of its might, launch the strongest Mega Punch that it can. As Victory Bell doesn't have the physical power to match Kangaskhan, it is lured right into this trap, as Kangaskhan's fist meets its gut, releasing it from the Vine Whip. However, this is going to have an unfortunate side effect for the parent Pokemon, as the pressure from the punch forces Victory Bell to expel a poison powder from within its gullet that engulfs the parent Pokemon in a poison. This is an unforeseen side effect of the move that that Vincent just used, which is something that he's not too happy about because he was really hoping Kangaskhan can pull some major overtime here and at least get one knockout. It is at this moment that the reflect fades and Ethan recalls Victory Bell, saving it for later. Wanting to preserve Kangaskhan from the poison the best he can, Vincent makes the same decision, recalling it for later as well, so the poison won't affect it. However, what replaces the normal type isn't something that's going to be in Vincent's favor, as Ethan chooses to go with his starter Typhlosion, while Ethan's only other Pokemon left is his starter Meganium. With the call to start this next battle, Vincent goes on the offensive, calling for a Petal Dance. However, Ethan is going to play defense here, ordering Typhlosion to use a Smokescreen. This allows the fire type to evade the attack as it disappears into the haze. Knowing they have to be as cautious as possible, Vincent decides to play a little bit of defense on his own, ordering Meganium to erect a Reflect, mirroring the defensive options that Ethan had used earlier in the battle. This was a good choice too, as Typhlosion emerges from the smog cloud with the Flame Wheel at the command of Ethan. While this was super effective towards Meganium, it was a physical type move, which means Reflect was able to stave off it from being a one-hit KO. And now that Typhlosion is so close, this allows Vincent to follow up with the Petal Dance that does manage to hit Typhlosion, carrying it into the air as Meganium puts everything it has into the attack. Ethan yells for Typhlosion to use another Flame Wheel. However, this isn't meant to attack, this is meant to defend, which proves effective as the Flame Wheel begins to engulf all of the leaves around it, preventing any further damage to the fire type. However, this is where they are met with another problem, as Typhlosion is now very high in the air, and there's only one way that it can go, and that's down. And there's another problem that they're going to have to contend with, as Vincent has ordered Meganium to use a Solar Beam. The grass type is doing everything that it can to charge as much solar energy as possible before it has to. However, Ethan plans to use the distance that Typhlosion is off the ground to his advantage, as he orders it to keep up the Flame Wheel and just to dive straight into Meganium. The Fire Badger begins to drop at a rapid pace as Meganium begins to reach the end of its charging cycle. This is where Vincent realizes that they're out of time, and he orders Meganium to fire the Solar Beam with everything that it has left. The beam of grass type energy envelops the fire type, and at first it looks like Meganium may have actually taken this battle. That is, until the beam energy begins to dissipate as fire slowly engulfs it, revealing Typhlosion is still on a direct course with Meganium as it slams dead head into the target, with all of the weight and the force of its fall behind it. Upon contact, what's left of the solar energy and the Flame Wheel combust, causing a miniature explosion that shields everybody from the sight of what's going on. However, once the dust settles, it's revealed that both Typhlosion and Meganium are knocked out, much to the surprise of both their trainers. They each recall their starters thanking them for carrying them this far in their entire journey, and this is where it begins to dawn on Vincent. He went from being in the lead to being so far behind that he doesn't know if he's going to be able to catch up, but that doesn't mean he's not going to try, as he sends in his final Pokemon, Kangaskhan. Ethan's next choice is going to be Noctowl, to which at the start of the battle he leads with another Reflect, while Kangaskhan is able to connect with a double hit from Vincent. While each hit on its own isn't enough to cause that much damage, the combined total of both attacks is enough to send Noctowl into the battlefield. While it's not knocked out, one of its wings was hit in the process, preventing it from gaining any type of flight, and this is where Ethan has to make one last desperate play, as it calls for a confusion, while Kangaskhan brings down a Mega Punch on top of the bird. The last thing anybody sees is a brief flash of Psychic type energy as Kangaskhan is hit with the confusion before a burst of feathers erupts from the battlefield from beneath the fist of the normal type, bringing this battle to a close. Recalling his bird, Ethan stares down Kangaskhan, to which him and Vincent both know the same thing. The normal type is breathing heavily as the poison has been running its course during this entire time. We just have to hold on for a little bit while longer, Ethan says as he sends back in Victory Bell. The fly trap emerges as the battle starts, with Kangaskhan erupting with the flamethrower before Ethan can give out any commands. Unlike before, the fire type attack does connect with Victory Bell, causing Vincent to think that he may have won, while Ethan thinks that he may have lost. However, as Kangaskhan's stamina continues to be drained, it's forced to drop the fire type attack, allowing Victory Bell to escape with just a sliver of its HP left. Realizing that the next move could be their last, Vincent orders another double hit in an attempt to end this before the poison ends them. Knowing that Victory Bell can't risk another hit from this behemoth, Ethan orders a Razor Leaf in an attempt to stave off the double hit. This forces Kangaskhan to knock its way through the wall of razor petals, making it so that it can't reach Victory Bell as it begins to be pelted with the leaves, one by one, until the normal type drops from the force of the attack. It is here that the ref declares Ethan the winner, as Vincent stares in stunned silence, unable to process what just happened. The crowd begins to cheer as the first match of the top 16 is closed out, and what follows over the course of the day is the rest of the top 16 battles, with each of them ending in a far more intense way than the previous one, until there are only 8 contestants left. Before anyone is allowed to go home for the day, they make the immediate announcements for the top 8 8 battles that'll be taking place tomorrow. In the first battle, it's going to be the girl Casey. Someone Ash battled in the Indigo League, Pete Pebbleman from Pewter City. Second battle will be Richie versus Shingo. The third battle is going to be Gary versus Ethan, and the final battle of the day will be Ash versus the newcomer Harrison. And this is where we are going to leave things for now. So tell me, how did you feel about this part? Did you enjoy the preliminary rounds and the top 16 battles that I laid out here? And how do you feel about me giving the win to Ethan over Vincent? Do you feel like that's the right call, or should Vincent have won? And of course, what do you think about the top 8 pairings? As for Gary and Ethan, there's going to be a master versus apprentice vibe there. Let me know in the comments down below. And that's all we had for today's video. I really appreciate you guys stopping by to watch all the way to the end, and I just wanted to say thank you for that. If you guys really enjoy my content, consider following me on some of my other platforms like Discord, where you can get to know other people who are interested in what ifs, or on Twitter, where I post sometimes behind the scenes updates. Or if you want to help the channel grow a little bit extra, why don't you consider donating like the people right here have, as whatever you could offer could help us get to a larger audience by helping us get new videos done, or some of the projects that we more custom art is getting kind of expensive. So we want to make sure that we have the funds to do that. But with all that being said, I really hope you guys enjoyed everything, and I will see you in the next video.